Ms. Foster, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Goubert?
Here.
Commissioner Gupta? Commissioner Iyer?
Here.
Commissioner Jennings?
Here.
Commissioner Kostic?
Here.
Commissioner Paterlini?
Here.
Commissioner Rizzer?
Here.
Commissioner Zerks?
Here.
Commissioner Thompson?
Here.
Commissioner Tucker?
Here.
Commissioner Zarin?
Here.
And Chair Latham.
Present. Next, we'll approve the meeting agenda. Are there any changes for the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to the adoption of the consent agenda. Are there any changes for the consent agenda? Are there any changes for the November 11 minutes? Hearing none, we'll approve those as provided. Next, our community comment period. Do we have anyone in the audience who would like to make a community comment? Mr. Glan?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, I'm Bill Glahn, 6634 Normandale Road. As you may be aware, I'm also a member of the Energy Working Group, and I did want to address you very briefly this evening as you embark on your 2012 agenda, this being the first meeting of the new year. When you tackle the Green Step Cities program, as you recall, there are 28 best practices within the program, and within those 28 best practices there are a number of actions which added together total 168 actions that the city of Edina or any city could take in order to get credit under the Green Step Cities program. There are a very few of them, a handful of them, that have proven very controversial in other communities. So I would ask that as you do your work in 2012, focus on many of the dozens, of course you've already done many dozens, but focus on many of the dozens that would act to bring our community together. I think everyone in Edina wishes to see the community brought together through the work of this commission and its citizens on energy and environmental issues. And I would just call out three to your attention that have proven in other communities to be very controversial. For example, the garbage hauling has proven to be very controversial in the city of Maplewood, who recently voted to organize their garbage hauling industry within the city. The wood burning issue that we tackled last year proved to be controversial here, has proven to be controversial in other communities as well. And just to round out the list of three, complete streets. There's been some projects that have been embraced by the communities they've been located in. Other projects, such as in North St. Paul, the city of Minneapolis, the city of St. Paul, and other communities have proven to be very controversial. So of the 168, I'm sure we can find many to work on in 2012. I'll pledge to help the Energy Working Group do what it can to contribute to the effort, and let's focus on those measures that will bring our community together. Commissioners, thank you.
Give public comment. Hearing none, we will move on with the agenda. The first item of business are the working group member additions and deletions. I am sorry to announce that Commissioner Tucker will be leaving the commission, and she has done an outstanding job on water quality. We wish we could have her services much longer, but she is moving on to other volunteer work, and we know she'll do an outstanding job there. As such, we no longer, as of the February meeting, will have a chair for our water quality group, and we're fortunate that Commissioner Risser has volunteered to fill in that position. And I would like to nominate Commissioner Risser for the chair of the water quality group. Commissioner Risser has extensive experience at water quality testing, and I feel would be a very good chair. Would there be a second for that motion? Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Are there any other changes to the membership for the various working groups? And I should mention for those attending today, we do have 5 working groups, and they are water quality, air quality, energy, education, and recycling and solid waste. And we would like to invite members of the public to join any of those groups. If any member of any resident would like to join those groups, they should send an email to City Hall, and we would be happy to consider their application. Next, we will have our Green Step City reports. And I would like to give a little background on the Green Step Cities before we begin our reports. The Green Step Cities program grew out of a 2009 report to the legislature on what cities could do to help the state meet greenhouse gas reduction goals, as well as to improve economic, environmental, and social sustainability. The partnership is administered by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency's Prevention and Assistance Division. It includes 10 other partners, for example, League of Cities, Minnesota Department of Commerce, Urban Land Institute, and the participating cities, of which there are 35 now. To participate, Edina is required to implement 16 of the 28 best practices. 9 best practices are required and 7 are optional. The optional ones were chosen by EEC with the consent of the Edina City Council. The 28 best practices fall into 5 categories. These are first, buildings and lighting; second, transportation; third, environmental management; fourth, economic and community development; and fifth, land use. We will now step through Edina's 16 best practices, with the responsible commissioner providing an update on what has been accomplished on that best practice this past year. Our first best practice will be number 24, benchmarks and community involvement. And our first speaker will be on step number 1, Rick Carter, reporting the progress to community members on implementing this practice. Mr. Carter is a consultant with LHB Architects, and he helped develop the Regional Indicators Project, which enables Edina to compare its benchmarks with other cities. Mr. Carter, would you proceed?
I will. Is this working? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, that's not me, so let me see what I got to do here. All right, thank you very much. My name is Rick Carter, and I'm here as a representative of the Urban Land Institute Regional Council Mayor's Environmental Committee. And as you know, within the subset of the group of cities that are working on Green Step Cities, there are actually 5 cities, and you are one of them, that are pilots for the Green Step program. And within that, there are 3 cities that are piloting this measure that we're calling the Regional Indicator Project. So I'm going to walk through most of this information you've seen in one form or another before, but I've got it kind of tied up with Edina, with all of the data that we have in now. So again, Green Step Cities, you know, is a set of best management practices, and you're going to track those over a period of time. What the Regional Indicators Project is hoping to be is a set of information that you would track initially to create benchmarks and then track over time to see if the things that you're doing are actually accomplishing what you want to accomplish. So one of the things we'll do now that we have 3 years worth of data is we'll focus on the 16 BMPs that you have and try and make a literal connection to them. So you can say, okay, that's why we're measuring that particular metric. So again, when this whole thing started out about maybe a year and a half ago, we started with Falcon Heights, then St. Louis Park, then Edina. So you were the 3rd city to come in, but in fact the first city to get 3 years worth of data. So I've been using your slides in a lot of presentations. We now have 3 years worth of data for Falcon Heights, and we're just on the verge of getting our 3rd year for St. Louis Park. And we'll work with your staff to get 1 more year. So the conclusion of this original pilot is to get 4 full years of data from 3 cities. And I'll talk about where we go from there. So Again, in particular for people who are hearing this for the first time, all the metrics that we're going to talk about, the data we're collecting here, is data for the entire city, not for the city buildings, not for the city staff, but for the entire geographic area of the city for the period of time. When we started out, we initially weren't sure which metrics we could measure. We started out talking about just energy and water. Early on, we added waste and vehicle miles traveled, and we're feeling pretty comfortable about those four. There could conceivably be more metrics over time. But the idea with these four cities for this 4 year is to collect total energy in BTUs, water in gallons, travel in vehicle miles, and waste in pounds. And one of the things I'm going to emphasize, because it shows this way throughout the presentation, I think most people are normally seeing this information in units of dollars. That's the way we get our bills. That's the way we pay our bills. A lot of people are also talking about this in units of tons in terms of carbon emissions. In any case and anywhere along the line, we can convert any of this information that I'm going to show into those units, but I'm going to stick to the units at the top for one specific reason. Depending on how you translate into dollars and carbon, those can be variable. It depends on how you actually do the math. It depends on how much that thing costs at any given time. But the BTUs and the gallons, et cetera, they're not. So that's why I'm using those numbers. Please interrupt any time and ask a question. I'm not going to spend very much time on this spreadsheet. Jesse has this spreadsheet that's probably one tab of about 20 tabs of multiple page spreadsheets. So there's just a huge database of information with all of the data we've collected, how it got compiled, how it gets converted to carbon. This is just an overall summary sheet, and I'm just going to touch on it briefly. And then you'll see most of this information in charts and graphs as I go on. So generally speaking, what you're seeing here, and I'm going to show two sheets. The heading at the top will stay the same on both. This has energy and water. The next page will have waste and VMT, and then a roll-up at the bottom. So as you can see, there is a column for each year. That's pretty straightforward. And then, I'll just drop in some of the things that you may not have heard that have happened along the way. Once we got the information, this happened in all cities so far, for energy, electricity, and gas, it was not easy to get it. It's taken some time. We're kind of in a new era of being able to get energy data. But once we got it, much to our surprise, it was disaggregated between residential and commercial industrial, which was really nice. Because we had talked about normalizing or presenting this information on a per capita basis, we're now able to separate it and do the residential consumption on a per capita basis and the commercial industrial consumption on a per jobs basis, which seems more fair and more logical in terms of how you measure things, because you don't necessarily want your job base to go down. You'd like your job base to go up. What you'd like to see is less energy per job or less water consumption per job. So there's a lot of information on these pages. I'm just going to touch on some of the information. Probably the last time I presented, we didn't have water disaggregated, but once we knew we could get energy disaggregated, we started asking the cities for water, and we were able to get that. So now we also have the water disaggregated between residential and commercial, and then normalize it the same way. So that's in gallons per person per day. So again, this sheet has the population, and the area header is the same. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the carbon roll-up at the bottom, just to say that the average American carbon footprint is around 20 tons per capita per year. Minnesota is a bit higher, mostly because of the way we create electricity in Minnesota. And this isn't expected to capture everything. Keep in mind, we're doing it within the city limits. We're not capturing a lot of the agricultural uses. We're not capturing air travel, some of the other things that would impact you as an individual if we took it as a country. To go back up a little bit, waste. Waste is the one that we've had the most trouble really pinning down to a city scale, because in our area, waste is really measured at a county scale. So all the information I'm presenting so far is really your share per capita of Hennepin County's waste. You can see it's pretty well divided up within that, which is nice. We've got a couple of things going on. St. Louis Park has a single hauler for residential waste and recycling. So we've got a couple years of full, complete data for St. Louis Park, but just the residential side. You all are doing some measuring going forward that we'll be able to capitalize on. So we're hoping that over time, we'll be able to pin that down back to the community, where right now it's a little difficult to do that. VMT is a whole presentation in and of itself. If you really want to get into the details on the VMT, you can look sometime at the spreadsheets. I've become a believer in the ability to measure vehicle miles traveled. The vast majority of the miles traveled through or within any city are on roadways where there are actual counters. When you get down to the really the smaller city streets where there aren't counters, the volume is quite a bit lower, and there are some projections involved. But I'm feeling pretty confident in those numbers, and those are on a per capita per day. I recently made a presentation with someone from the Met Council at the American Planning Conference, and he presented some data showing that they're actually able to disaggregate some of this data in a more residential versus commercial industrial fashion. It's not quite that simple. It's more like home-based tripped versus non-home-based trips. So we may disaggregate that data and come back and be able to show it someday. And then just to mention the bike counts, I think I've said this in one of the meetings with you before, but one person who had seen this presentation a couple of times asked why we don't count at least one thing that would be good to see the number go up. And that person felt pretty strongly that there was a way of doing bike counts consistently from city to city. So we talked to Transit for Livable Communities. The reason we felt comfortable doing it is for each of the 3 cities, there was at least one location that had counts consistently for each of those 3 years. So we're not quite sure what to make of it yet, but trends have generally been upward, so that's a good sign. So now there's a whole new world. Now we have this information. What do we do with it? And I'm going to go through these slides really quickly, because all we've really done so far is a lot of data collection and a little bit of assembly of presentation, and now we're going into the phase of what do we actually do with it, other than you know you have it so you can look back on it when you're doing things to reduce energy consumption. One thing you can do with it is compare yourself to other cities. Not necessarily fair to compare Edina to Falcon Heights, but interesting. You know, you might look at those numbers and say, why is this way? So over time, we'll be able to take a look at those. These are average numbers for 2 years for 3 cities. So we really literally were trying to kind of get a sense of how one city compares to another. For those of you who don't know geographically, Falcon Heights is primarily the St. Paul campus of the University of Minnesota and the State Fair. So it's a very different land use pattern than other cities. But there you can see how you can compare from city to city. What I think the information is most valuable for is to compare yourself to yourself over time, just like measuring energy in a building. So we have a lot of slides where we've started to present the data this way. This is commercial industrial energy use on the left, residential energy use on the right, and you're seeing it in kBTU per job per day and kBTU per person per day. And that may sound very foreign, that kBTU per something per day, but someday it's going to sound like miles per gallon. I think people are going to use that metric over time long enough that we'll understand. It'll come on your bill. You'll know what your house is. You'll know what your business is. One trend, and it's maybe a little early to talk about trends with 2 cities with 3 years worth of data, but in almost every case, the per capita or per job consumption in any metric went down from 08 to 09 and back up again in 10. So that's not necessarily good news, but it's probably not a shock. You know, we saw an economic dip in consumption. Otherwise, we're still on a path on a per capita per job rate going up, and we need to be going down. So it's important. It's no different from city to city. Just a kind of an offshoot. I haven't had a chance to talk to Jesse about this. I know he's extremely busy, but because we do it, because we gather most of this information on a building scale, on a per square foot basis, I've been asked a lot, can we do that at a city scale? So After a couple of tries, the city of Falcon Heights actually produced for us a list of all the buildings in their city with the square footage of every single building, subtotaled for residential and subtotaled for commercial industrial. So here's KBTU per square foot per year for residential buildings and commercial buildings in Falcon Heights. So having that information and be able to overlay size of buildings to just pure numbers of jobs would be interesting as well. Here's water for Edina. Actually, 2009 and 2010 were level, at least within 1 gallon per job per day, but you can see that same trend on the water consumption for residential. Now I'm going to show some slides again, kind of going back to the comparison of city to city, and this is just kind of a first cut, just to illustrate some major points. If you take the carbon emission outcome of the things that we've measured, keeping in mind that the energy outcome of waste collection is probably showing up in travel because that's where the vehicle emissions are showing up. And the energy, or the carbon emission, the primary carbon footprint of water is showing up in energy because the energy to produce water and pump water and distribute water is showing up there. But you can see with that caveat, comparing travel within the city of Edina and energy consumption in the city of Edina, that the carbon footprint is very heavily weighted towards energy, and that's not unusual, that the national average is probably around 75%. Here's another comparison that probably surprises some people, that in communities that you would perceive to be more residential communities, you see a much heavier energy consumption in terms of BTUs on the commercial industrial side. The flip side really on water, again, Falcon Heights is a little bit of an anomaly, but we're using a lot more water in our residential consumption than we are in our commercial. I'm not sure how much I've spent with this group, and we're just starting to scratch the surface with this, but one of the things that we know is that at least all of the cities that do comprehensive plans that are within the Met Council area do very, very rigorous projections of these three metrics. Measure jobs, measure households, measure population, and project them out 10, 20 years, every 10 years. So while we're trying to accomplish essentially this, we're trying to take that carbon track as business as usual and slant it down at that 80% reduction point, the volume of the residents and the jobs is going up. So what we're hoping to be able to do, and this is just a snapshot of it, is take some of these numbers, like, for example, in Edina, the residential consumption per person at 158 kBTUs per person per day, to be on that path while the population is going up. We want to make that consumption go down. The consumption curve per person actually has to go down at a steeper rate. So it starts to look pretty daunting, maybe, challenging, not undoable, but it's something you can measure against. I mean, if you decided someday to set a goal like that, I can tell you one thing for sure, we'll know whether you get there or not because it's empirically measurable. And then this is the same thing on the commercial industrial side. So just to conclude the discussion about the regional indicators, and then I'm going to talk about the benchmarking a little bit. The very best system of this kind of measurement that I've seen in North America, and we've done some literature searches and looked around, is in Dakota County, where they have done 1 year of data for the entire county, and they've isolated their major cities, and they've done water, waste, and energy, waste, and VMT. They haven't done water yet. So they have a very nice display tool. It's just a screenshot from their website that we're looking at maybe being able to use something like that. So as we start to get more cities, we can roll this data up and compare it. I think I've gone over most of the conclusions with you before. I'm not going to read through all of them. I think probably the most important one is that, we certainly started down this path because of Green Step cities, but I think the conclusion that we're coming to is that this is really a good scale to look at this information. It's not so big that you don't feel like you can impact it like a state or a country or the world, and it's not so small that you think it's just me, what difference does that make? You know, a community, I think, really has a lot of potential to be the scale to do this. So in a city like Minneapolis, that might be neighborhoods. In a city like Edina, it could be the whole community. Where we're going next with this, and this is a fairly constantly changing slide, we're working right now with the Regional Council of Mayors that is made up of about 35 cities. We're hoping to be able to, in 2012, get another 20 or so cities in this program. And we can go back pretty easily to that same 2008 year. So we'll have, hopefully, and then we're looking to get 5 or 6 cities outside of the metro from around the state. We've talked to Duluth and some other cities. Duluth has already committed, so that we can do some comparisons. Next step, we'd like to see some targets developed, look at some projections and targets. And then ultimately, the last 4 bullet points is really where this goes. You know, you made those choices about the BMPs before you had the data, and that's perfectly fine. Hopefully over time, people will have the data as they make the decisions about those BMPs, and that's what we're hoping to be able to do. Also to be able to establish policy, obtain funding, and most importantly, to be able to verify outcomes. So I'm just going to stop, see if you have any questions, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about B3, which is your energy information. Any questions? All right.
Commissioner Risser?
I just want to verify that water level for Edina and the commercial use is very low. And I'm wondering, does it include Southdale?
That's a very good question. I will find out. So you think it looks low in a total amount or on a per job basis?
Per job basis, and since Southdale is so dependent on large amounts of water for its cooling system, I was thinking
Sure.
it would, and heating, it would be very wise to include that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I assume it's included, but we'll find out. Because those kinds of things, you know, when industry or an organization provides their own resources, whether it's energy or water, it can slip through the cracks. So we'll double check that. Any other questions?
Mr. Struve?
Yeah, I can expand a little bit on some of the water usage. I mean, it is the information that Rick has is based on what our pumping records are and billing records are from. So that will include Southdale for what they use for potable water. Right now, that does not include their cooling because they have their own well for their own cooling system that is due to be transitioned over to a different type of cooling system. But currently, that system's not on city water.
Can I ask that?
Commissioner Risser?
Does anyone have an idea the volume of the water that is used for their cooling system?
I don't recall what that amount is right now.
We'll find out. It's interesting, the energy numbers, when I look at, in particular in terms of square footage, I have some sense of what's normal, what's expected, you know, what's a normal house versus a normal business. Water's a little bit trickier. We have done a fair number of commercial and public individual buildings, which would include retail and have some cooling. And we've seen a range from probably about 3 gallons per person per day up to about 25. So the fact you're at 18 or 19 doesn't really surprise me too much, but it's a really good thing to figure out what those big outliers are, so we'll do that. Okay, I'm going to talk just a little bit about B3. I've presented once or twice on this subject with a live website and found that I spend more time trying to maneuver around the website than really convey helpful information. We can always go to the website, so I'm going to work off of PowerPoint slides. Like with the information that we talked about for the city, for the city as a whole, in this case we're talking about for your buildings. You know, the site is built for public buildings, so we're talking about the City of Edina's buildings. So what you'll have, and I think we're probably going to go back about 3 years, is you'll have a similar set of data on the energy side for all your buildings. You'll have total consumption. So what you're able to do with that is, number one, that internal review, that's going to be the most important thing, and I'll tie that up at the end with a conclusion slide. A building uses so much energy, and you want it to use less, so you're going to take actions to reduce it and track it over time. The second item, the peer comparison, is also interesting. It's difficult. You know, what's an average city hall? What's an average public works building? But we do have the feature built in to B3 to use Energy Star rating as whenever the building qualifies for that, and typically a building like a city hall will. So you will be able to see some rank comparisons. There's also a new feature coming into the benchmarking program, which will probably be implemented in 2012, which I think will be very helpful for cities throughout the state, where you'll be able to, even though you can only look at your own data as a city, you'll be able to compare peer buildings throughout the state. So fire hall is a perfect example. There's hundreds of fire halls in this system. So when you get your fire halls in there, you'll be able to put them in rank order with all the other fire halls in the state. You won't know where those fire halls are or whose they are, but you'll be able to see where you rank. And then finally, and I think really most accurately, the B3 system builds an actual energy model for each of your buildings that you compare to. So think of it as how well should it be operating. So you're able to put your buildings in rank order, not just in terms of how much energy they use, but how much energy they use compared to how much they should. And I'll show some examples of that. Just very quickly, it's not so much the case for you, but a building has to be disaggregated with meters in order to be able to have this information and compare buildings. Sometimes buildings are tied together, two buildings, same gas meter, different electric meters. We can only look at them as a group. So if that comes into play, I just wanted you to be aware of that. A little bit of history. The law was passed in 2002, and I talk to people at least once a week in cities, schools, and counties who were under the impression that basically this was a requirement at one point in time to put some data in the system, and that was it. And technically that's true. There is no law that requires you to put your data into B3. But what has happened over this 9-year period is this tool has been developed to be such a sophisticated management tool that's available to you for free that you can use it to manage your energy. And on top of that, now you use it as a pre-qualifier for the PBEAT program, which is about to be launched. So this is what the website looks like when Jesse opens it up, and you all have login and password so you can look at your data. I'm not going to be able to read this, but if you want to see the big picture, there's probably about 6,500 public buildings in the state of Minnesota, and most of them have at least entered some data up to this point, so there's a pretty large share of information in. These are some screenshots from one city that has just been willing to share the data with us. So here is the portfolio of buildings in Woodbury, which is probably not a lot different than you in terms of the number of buildings. And this particular report is called the benchmark report. So it's comparing the buildings to that code benchmark of how should they perform. And it's been somewhat simplified with the 5-star rating. So you can see they have buildings from 2 stars to 5 stars. And the whole point of this is if you're going to invest, which you will, in energy efficiency in your portfolio of buildings, you want to start at the top of that list, not the bottom of that list. And without having that information, it's very difficult to know where to start. You might think the newer building is the most efficient. That isn't always true. So you have to be able to look at it this way. You can also look at it as baseline, and I'll show some graphic charts. So this is the city of Woodbury picked, and you can pick any year. They picked July 2007 to June 2008 as a comparable year. They felt like they had started at that point to make some changes they wanted to track against. So they track all of their buildings, and you can see on the far right there, they have 2 buildings that are using more energy now than they did in 2007 to 2008. So that's a red flag for them. They're going to go look at that information. This is the Energy Star. So they have one building that's automatic Energy Star, and it put out a number of 76. Energy Star is a 0 to 100 rating, and if you're 75 or higher, you are an Energy Star building. So that'd be nice to know, and that'll be an indirect result of doing this. More charts and graphs. than you'd ever have time to look at. You have to kind of pick and choose. This particular one is showing a multiple year actual, so the electricity is in blue with the gas stacked on top of it, month by month for the portfolio of their buildings. And the sort of beaded chain across the top is the baseline year with weather normalization. So what they're trying to do month over month, year over year is stay below that line or get further below that line. This is a new feature. I'm not as familiar with it, but it's the ability to establish a target to say we want to reduce energy consumption in all our buildings by 10% and see that weather normalized. So next year, if it's super cold in the winter and super hot in the summer, you're not penalized. You see the target against a weather normalized base. This is just one building showing the fact that you enter in building data and meter data, and that's what the staff and some of the volunteer assistants that they have are working towards now. And this is my last slide, and then I'll take questions on this as well. As much as there's a bit of work to get up to speed that you're going through right now, in this 4-step process, that's only step 1. So keep that in mind. You're going to track. You're going to get the information in there and track it. Then you're going to compare it. Somebody has to be going into that data and wanting to see when things turn red or go high or low and be motivated to do something about it. And then you're going to do things like recommissioning, audits, retrofits, make improvements, and then you're going to use that information to manage over time. And I'm convinced you'll see great rewards for putting that information in. And that's all I was going to cover. So does anybody have any questions for me about the B3? Jesse's going to talk about your progress in a few minutes.
Yeah, I do have a question. Rick, will these charts and graphs be available to us, or Jesse, do you have them, or how might we?
Once all your data is in, you have access to them now. You need to wait till the data is fleshed out. And then we'll take a look and make sure that we've plugged all the gaps and there are no anomalies. And then, it's the city's data, so you can choose to do whatever you want with it. You can print out reports, you can publish it live, you could let other people get into it, but it's password protected, so you can limit it to the extent that you want to.
And then are you available to kind of understand some of the data if we
Absolutely.
need? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Struve, would you like to give us an update?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, as Rick had mentioned, we are in the gathering phase right now. We were working with an intern with the Department of Commerce. Last year, there was a switchover, kind of set us back a little bit, but we're back at it, and that our new intern has met today, I believe, with our finance department. So they are working through some of the issues and coming to kind of the same page of what they need to provide for each other. So hopefully at next month's meeting, I'll have a much better update showing that we have made a lot more progress.
Thank you, Mr. Struve. We'll move on to the next step, which is auditing the buildings in the bottom third. Mr. Struve, would you like to report on that?
Yeah, as many of you remember, back in September, October, McKinstry was brought on last year to perform energy audits in roughly 12 different city facilities. They combined some water improvements, energy improvements, lighting improvements, and heating improvements throughout these facilities. To date, the project's approximately 95% complete, with just a few items that need to be installed because they're back ordered. So we're waiting for their arrival, and then the project should be wrapped up quickly.
Thank you, Mr. Struve. Commissioner Paterlini, would you give your report on the CDP?
Yes, first an introduction about the CDP. The CDP stands for the Carbon Disclosure Project. This is a non-profit organization that started in the UK, Their goal was to encourage public companies to report carbon emissions, and they were successful. Right now, almost all the Fortune 500 companies are reporting to the CDP, and actually the data are available on Bloomberg and are used as one of the additional parameters to assess the market value of a company based on the risk and risk assessment of how well they're going to deal with climate change. So we started at the working with the CDP in 2008 with a pilot project reporting carbon emission for the city of Edina. These are not the entire city, but just the city building, city use of vehicles, city commuting, and so forth. We reported that the data in 2009 and 2010, and the data are publicly available on their website. This website is cdpproject.net. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Paterlini. Next, Mr. Struve, reporting on the geothermal system at the Public Works Building.
Thank you, Chair Latham. In 2010, the City of Edina built a new, or retrofitted an existing building for a new Public Works facility. With that construction, they did install a geothermal closed-loop system to heat the administration area and then also the mechanics area. So that was or has been operating for a year and a half now. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Struve. Next, we'll move on to best practice number 2, existing private buildings, and Commissioner Gubrud will report on step number 1, which involves the Home Energy Squad.
Thank you, Chair. On the video or on the screen should be a slide or a picture of the Home Energy Squad. Can you? Is it there? Okay, thank you. Now, we have had a unique, I think, opportunity to work with the Home Energy Squad. For those who are viewing and perhaps not familiar with the Home Energy Squad, the Home Energy Squad is a joint venture with Xcel Energy and CenterPoint, and the purpose is to provide consumers with energy-saving products that will make their homes more energy efficient. And one of the nice features of this is the installations by the Home Energy Squad requires that the customers pay only for the cost of materials, not for any of labor. That is a cost that is picked up by Xcel and CenterPoint. So it's made these Home Energy Squad installs extremely economical. People get over $200 worth of materials for a copay of between $50 and $80. We, over the period of about 2 years, have been working with the Home Energy Squad to promote the use of its services here in the city of Edina. To support that, we have had a link on our Energy and Environment Commission website for people to click on and find out about the Home Energy Squad. We've had an interview on the In Edina show with host Lillian McDonald featuring the Home Energy Squad. We've had door hangers and brochure distribution in a number of our neighborhoods, and we even went out to a football game and passed out brochures and door hangers for those who we could stop who were willing to do that while they were on their way to the game or back and forth. We had a workshop in the Morningside Neighborhood Association to acquaint the neighbors with the nature of the Home Energy Squad and to ask questions that they might have or answer questions. And then this van that you see was available to us in our July 4th parade, so it came or drove along with the rest of us, either marching or riding, and we had an electric car to also publicize our reducing our carbon footprint. At the Night to Unite in our neighborhood parties here this summer, again the HES van came and worked with going around with a squad car to visit various neighborhood parties. We've had Edina water utility bill inserts. We did 15,000 in 2010 and 10,000 in 2011. I think one of the more really exciting aspects of this, perhaps from a public service standpoint, was at the Edina Day of Service in both 2000 and 2011. The Home Energy Squad made pro bono installs in homes of low-income seniors. We did 4 each year, and the years of experience of our people we worked with ranged from 75 to 101. But they were really grateful. It made an very substantial impact on them, and we had some really nice feedback. One of them was a front page article in the March 10th Sun Current featuring Fran and Al Sitter, who were just a charming couple. I had the opportunity of working with the squad on all of those 2 days, and we just had a wonderful time, and they were really grateful. I even got a Christmas card, so which was neat. Then this fall, we had an offering in our adult ed class, having the Neely Crane Smith, who's one of the people working on the Home Energy Squad over at the Edina High School. And then this fall, we had an article in the fall 2011 issue of About Town magazine here in Edina. Results have been about 49 installs, which we would like to see more of in 2010, and about 55 in 2011. So we're making progress, but we're not where we want to be, so we're going to continue to encourage our residents to take advantage of this energy-saving opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gubrud. Next, Commissioner Tucker will tell us about conserving drinking and groundwater.
Thank you, Chair. As part of the overall work that the Water Quality Working Group has been looking at for the past year is determining ways in which we can help educate residents to conserving water use. Right now, Edina has a year-long restriction on lawn watering, but we would like to kind of extend the education and the conservation tools to encourage residential and commercial property owners to reduce the use of water and their consumption of water. So over this next year, we'll actually be looking at ways in which we might encourage property owners to use timers on their irrigation systems or capture water on their property by utilizing rain gardens and encouraging less pervious surfaces on their property. This will also help to eliminate pollutants going off into the stormwater system, and so those will be issues that will be forthcoming this year. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Tucker. Next, Commissioner Risser will give us a report on the comprehensive plan.
In 2008, the City of Edina approved a new comprehensive plan, and this is something that is incumbent on every municipality to complete every 10 years. So the Met Council lays out specific chapters that have to be created. One of the things that I'm most proud of, and actually this extends back to work that was done before last year, is that the Energy and Environment Commission really stepped up and pulled a lot of information, a lot of time, a lot of analysis. I know Commissioner Paterlini was very involved in this. And we wrote a lot of Chapter 10, which is Environment and Energy. This is really rather remarkable for a couple of reasons. They do not require you to have that chapter in your comprehensive plan. But I think it is really remarkable that, first of all, the EEC did that, and I would also like to thank city staff as well as city council for allowing us to do that. They didn't really need to do that, but they did see that it was of value, and in this chapter there's a lot of very important information that's helpful in terms of both residential use of energy and also issues pertaining to making it possible for people to live lives that allow them to do more walking, more biking, and that kind of thing. So activities that reduce the use of energy and also help to lead toward more healthy communities. So I think that's really wonderful that we did do that. The other point that needs to be made is that we want to make sure that our comprehensive plan is being met and that the regulatory ordinances do indeed comply with that. And having sat on the Planning Commission for, I think it was 4 years, it was really interesting for me to see very clearly when plans come before the commission, people really are very much interested in making sure that there's a lot of thought that goes into how people approach buildings, that sort of thing. I'm digressing a little bit, but yes, indeed, in terms of that second point, we do comply, and that is really, very significant because the comprehensive plan that was written for 2008 does indeed differ quite a bit from the one that was written before.
Thank you, Commissioner Risser. Next, best practice number 11, complete streets. Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Commissioner Latham. We're working in collaboration with the Edina Transportation Commission on the Complete Streets program. In May of 2011, the Edina Transportation Commission recommended to City Council that Edina pursue a living streets policy and implementation plan. The Council approved this recommendation. Living streets balances the need for motorists, pedestrians, bicycles, and transit riders in a way that promotes safety and convenience and enhances community identity, economic vitality, opportunities for active living, and environmental sustainability. Over the next several months, the Edina Transportation Commission will be working on the Living Streets policy and implementation plan. There are a few key points here, but I think the main one for safety is that when motorists, pedestrians, and bicyclists are all mixed on the street, by law, motorists must yield to pedestrians and bikes, and bicyclists must yield to pedestrians. All residents are invited on February 14th to attend an evening informational session on living streets led by national expert Ryan Snyder. The time and location will be determined. The session is sponsored by Blue Cross and Blue Shield and the City of Edina. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. Our next best practice, number 12, mobility options. Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Commissioner Latham. We're working closely again, showing the collaboration between the commissions with the Edina Bike Task Force. They have been in existence for a number of years and are just developing their website at bikeedina.org. Their mission is to support implementation of the approved City of Edina Comprehensive Bicycle Transportation Plan that serves all level of bicyclists, connects key destinations, including safe routes to school, and integrates the Twin Cities regional bike network. Their vision is a progressive, bicycle-friendly community where citizens can integrate cycling into their daily lives. They have produced a map of the Edina bike routes, and last year they received an honorable mention to become a bicycle-friendly community awarded by the League of American Bicyclists in 2010. They're working to improve to earn the Bronze Award, Engineering, Education, Encouragement, Enforcement, and Evaluation and Planning. And they've met with City of Edina engineer Wayne Houle and are active in the Safe Routes to School efforts, such as bike rodeos. I'm going to move now and show you a few pictures from another location. So besides the bike rodeos that have been done over the last 3 years, we've also had, this one was at Highland School, showing, oh, here we go, Kirk Johnson, the former president, with showing a left-hand turn. And these are for children, but they're also for adults. and we encourage adults to come with their kids. This year, the bike rodeo is going to be at Cornelia School on April 21st. And there's our mayor leading a bike with the mayor, and council member Joni Bennett. And we travel all around the Twin Cities on the bike lane that goes downtown. So those are some of the things that we'd like to invite people to join with us this year. Again, the website is bikeedina.org, and they also have an opportunity to get a $250,000 grant from Transit for Livable Communities. So they're working on that now to improve the bicycle infrastructure in Edina. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. Our next best practice is number 15, purchasing, and Commissioner Kostick will report on that.
Thank you, Chair. As I think the commissioners remember, this has been worked on for a while. Commissioner Paterlini had pulled together a first draft of this in early 2011. We got a team together with city staff that was led by the Assistant Finance Director, Eric Rogeman, and they worked over the summer and into the fall on a few iterations of the policy to make sure that we had something that, one, they understood, and two, they could live with. I think in the packets you all saw we had about a 12-page document that is where we kind of came out. I think it is a good balance, matching our priorities to try to make the procurement of the city more environmentally friendly and balancing that off with the other responsibilities of the city staff in their spending in terms of goods and services. So to get value for money, to make sure that whatever they buy actually does the job that it's intended, et cetera. You can see on the agenda there's a couple of points that we have to hit around Energy Star, paper content, and EPA water sense. All of those are in the document. And so if there's anyone that has questions having read it, I or Germana would be happy to try to field them.
Do any commissioners have any questions for Mr. Kostick or Commissioner Kostick or Commissioner Paterlini? Hearing none, then I would entertain a motion to pass the purchasing policy as written.
Second.
Our first is Commissioner Iyer, and second is Commissioner Kostick. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. So this policy will go next to City Council for approval. Thank you for the work that Commissioner Kostick and Paterlini have done on this important policy. We're very delighted to see it move forward. And Assistant City Manager emailed me today, Scott Neal, that he supports this policy in practice and in spirit, and we do appreciate that. Next is the urban forest, and I will report on that. Best practice number 16. The first step is to qualify as Tree City USA. Edina has qualified as a Tree City USA in the past and has again applied, and we are expecting to receive a notice of acceptance into that plan in May or so. Step number 4 is to maximize tree planting along your main street of the downtown, and we have already accomplished that along 50th and France. There are trees on both sides of the street, and they are within the required 40 feet of being apart from each other. Next, we'll move on to best practice number 17, efficient stormwater management. Commissioner Tucker will report.
Thank you, Chair. This past year, the Water Quality Working Group spent a good portion of its time looking at stormwater management issues. And there were two specific pieces of data and actions that we followed through. The first was to complete the Blue Star City stormwater management assessment, and This was a self-assessed exercise for municipalities to kind of go through various aspects of their development and planning practices. And after completing the questions, we were provided a score, and as it turned out, we ended up being one of the within the top 10 highest scoring cities. So we were pleased to receive that mark and that recognition through that program. But essentially, it will this award recognizes the work that Edina is doing and continues to do to improve its stormwater management. And this award will last for 3 years, and over that 3-year period, we will continue to look at issues relating to stormwater management and ways that we can continually improve the specific areas that Edina may not have scored as high on as in other areas of the self-assessment. So we'll continue working on that over this 3-year period, and presumably at the end of the 3 years, the requirements for gaining the next approval will be ratcheted up a bit. So we'll be on the lookout for that and working with the engineering department here in the city on stormwater. The second piece of work that the Water Quality Working Group spent time on this past year was looking at a potential ban for the use of coal tar-based sealants within the city of Edina. And this was based on a number of studies that were conducted on a national level, and also recommendations from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, where it had become clear that coal tar-based sealants contain a type of organic chemical compound called polycystic aromatic hydrocarbons, better known as PAHs. And they are known to be a probable human carcinogen. And coal tar has been commonly found in driveway sealant products. And so through some research that our working group did, looking at national studies, what the recommendations were from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, we felt that it was important to bring this issue to the Commission, and we drafted an ordinance that would essentially ban the coal tar based sealants for use by residential and commercial properties in the city of Edina. The city of Edina had already stopped using coal tar based sealants, and so we felt that this was kind of a natural segue in adapting this ordinance, that it essentially would put all aspects of the city on the same page in terms of not using this known pollutant. Coal tar sealants, for those that are not familiar with it, not only do they have a very noxious smell, but as they are placed on a driveway surface over a period of time, the material will break down, will flake, will be picked up by tires, and during rainfall, the particulates will be washed away and then into the stormwater system. So not only is it a noxious smell, but it was polluting waterways. And so that was the main motivator for approving or recommending this ordinance. And we brought the ordinance recommendation to the City Council, and it was passed in November. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Tucker. Our next best practice is parks and trails, and I will turn the floor over to Commissioner Paterlini, who will talk about our turf management task force.
Thank you, Chair. The Turf Management Task Force was formed because we took a look at a policy that was implemented around 1995 regarding turf management and use of pesticides in the city of Edina in the parks. So the task force is also another example of a good collaboration between different boards and commissions. We had Ellen Jones from the Park Board, Mary Jo Kingston from Community Health, and then also the Director of Park and Rec, John Caprios, and also Vince Cockrell. So, and what you have in front here is the last revision dated December 14, and it was a good time to take a look at it since it was over 10 years old. And the first things we notice is that some of the classification of parks, especially the fields used for sports like soccer, baseball, and so forth, they were not updated. So one of the tasks was update the list, and what we find out is that since 1995, the fields in the parks are more heavily used by the various sport associations. So the question was, do we need to spray those with pesticides, and how often do we need to do that? So we made a list. We revised the initial list to include the new fields, and reclassified the fields based on how many times they need to be sprayed. And some of them, the majority of them, typically they only need to get sprayed once a year in the spring, and some of them they don't need at all. And some of them they could easily be managed by organic. Now, organics are herbicides that are based on cornmeal, so they are non-chemical based, they are non-toxic, and so there would be an alternative. So we added that to the policy, and what I'm asking today is for discussion and approval of the policy as revised on December 14.
Are there any questions by the commissioners of this policy revision? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the policy.
So moved.
All right, Commissioner Sirks. Is there a second? Commissioner Gubrud. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you for all the work you did, Commissioner Paterlini, to make this much-needed update possible. Thank you. Next, I will report on use of sources of non-potable water for irrigation. City well number 14 was taken out of service in 2006 due to elevated radium-226 levels, and it has been repurposed to irrigate Braemar Golf Course. So this is an excellent example of using of this water that we can no longer use for drinking water. Next, step number 7, certifying at least one golf course for the Audubon Cooperative Sanctuary Program. Edina has 2 golf courses. Actually, both our golf courses are certified, Braemar and Fred Richards. And also, previously, the Energy and Environment Commission put forward a proposal to the Park Board that some of our parks be certified as well, and perhaps we can follow up on that in the next year to see if that is possible. Our next step is step number 8, that of developing a program to involve the community in hands-on land restoration and stewardship. And this program would be our community's buckthorn abatement program, something that you all know is dear to my heart. The city forester under this program provides training for community groups who would like to volunteer to work on buckthorn abatement in our parks. He provides the tools, and this includes a weed wrenches and hand saws. And I would like to add that the community should take note that Edina owns 7 of these weed wrenches, and any member of the community can check them out for their personal use, provided the forester is not using them for something else. They come in a large size, which is too big for me to operate, and a next largest size, and that's my preferred tool. And they will pull out up to a 2-inch diameter buckthorn by the roots, and it'll make you all feel quite powerful in so doing. The city will also provide Roundup to groups that want to work in our natural areas, because the stumps have to be painted if they are sawed as opposed to being pulled out with a weed wrench. And then the city hauls the brush away to the Braemar brush dump. And from there, it is picked up by St. Paul District Energy and chipped up and used to make energy for the city of St. Paul. So it's an excellent program, and I would welcome any community members who would like to get together and volunteer to work on buckthorn in any of our parks. We've had buckthorn busts in parks such as Todd Park, Garden Park, Roslyn Park, the Art Center, the Benton Pond, and there are others I'm sure I've missed. I apologize if I did. But the city forester is most happy to support this kind of work. All right, next we'll move on to best practice number 19, surface water quality. Commissioner Tucker.
Chairperson, can I ask a question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So if the residents would like to, want to contact someone to put together, to get rid of the buckthorns in the common area or the park, whom should they contact?
That would be Tom Horwath, the City of Edina forester.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Question: How are we doing how are we doing in terms of the campaign? Are we making ground, or are we on the buckthorn, or are we in need of a lot more effort?
Well, as you can see, looking out at any of our parks, we're in need of a lot more effort. The funding is very limited, and we're limited almost to volunteers, and we could use more. Now, I'll have one of our student members report at this point. The students had a buckthorn bust at Edina High School, for example, recently.
Yes, at Edina High School, we have we had our own buckthorn removal. The city forester generously lended us a couple of the weed wrenches, and we went into Edina High School's forest, which is dominated by buckthorn, and we tried as hard as we could to remove as many as possible, but it is a big task because about 70% of the forest is buckthorn. But we made a sizable dent, I think, into the population, and we have another removal project planned for the spring. So if anyone wants to come out and help us, you are all welcome to join.
Thank you. And I know Instructor Eric Burfiend that works on these projects with the school, and each year you have one, and that is excellent. We appreciate your efforts. Next, best practice number 19, surface water quality. Commissioner Tucker.
Thank you, Chair. Surface water quality relates directly to the quality of our ponds and creeks that lie within the city boundaries. Edina falls into two watershed districts, Minnehaha and 9 Mile Creek. And each of these watershed districts have staff that are available to offer education, technical advice, and financial assistance relating to water quality issues. To date, the Energy Environment Commission has sponsored 2 workshops led by watershed district leaders under the auspices of the NEMO program. And during these programs, city council members and other commissioners attended to learn more specifically about surface water quality issues that affect Edina. In the upcoming year, the Water Quality Working Group will be meeting with 9 Mile Creek Watershed to begin to look at ways in which volunteers and city officials can come together to complete 2 of the best management practices, which relate to adopting and reporting on measurable surface water improvements for specific water bodies, and to look at increased shoreline standards to reduce the amount of erosion that occurs on shoreland. We would also like to just encourage homeowners around the city who happen to live around a local water body to begin to adopt on their own best management practices relating to shoreland practices, such as not mowing down to the edge of the shore, not utilizing fertilizers that wash into the waterway and form algae blooms. And we would encourage all homeowners and property owners who are seeking more information on water quality issues to look at each of the websites for Minnehaha and 9 Mile Watershed districts, as well as the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, because there's a lot of wonderful information and very detailed information on all those websites. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Tucker. Next, we'll go to best practice number 22, solid waste reduction, and I will report on that. We are setting up a recycling bin task force for the outdoor park recycling bins, and this was supported at the December 13 meeting of the Park Board. Our problem is we've got outdoor recycling bins only in about 4 parks. 2 of the parks, Lewis Park and Pamela Park, have a total of 8 outdoor recycling bins, and they were donated by Dow Water and Process Solutions. And this donation gave us an idea as to how we may be able to fund the others. Dow donated the funding for these, and then their name is on the bin. And we're thinking that there may be other organizations, nonprofit as well as commercial organizations, who might want to do something similar. And so we are setting up a task force to determine how we might implement a structure for such donations. Another option is many of the lids on the trash bins are damaged and need to be replaced. Well, these could easily be replaced with a recycling lid, because as you reduce the amount of trash, you don't need as many trash bins, and now it's all going into or half of it is going into the recycling bin. And so simply replacing the lids would give us a very cost-effective way of converting trash bins into recycling bins. But I would like to make a motion that we set up a park recycling bin task force, and it would be chaired by myself. Also sitting on it would be Park Superintendent Vince Cockerill, Centennial Lakes Manager Tom Shirley, Tom Swenson of Braemar Park, and the Recycling and Solid Waste Working Group members, Michelle Horan and Melissa Seeley. So I will put forward that motion. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Gubrud. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Other steps that we are doing to reduce solid waste in the community. The city recycling coordinator, it has an effort to reduce junk mail at City Hall by getting the city address removed from many mailing lists. The city recycling coordinator is also working on including organics recycling in a 2012 municipal recycling RFP. She is also implementing a citywide policy using compostable tableware, and this will become practice once the municipal RFP includes organics, and that will be implemented January 1, 2013. We're also implementing a citywide policy to reduce use of bottled water, and we're doing this through education. You might note that all commissioners have their reusable water glasses here. So hopefully residents will understand that it is much more energy efficient and cost effective too to use your reusable water glasses. Next, step 5, residential organics collection. This has already been put into place. The Recycling and Solid Waste Working Group, as well as the Morningside Neighborhood Association Conservation Committee, met with Veerkant Disposal, and he was very favorably willing to approve setting up organics collection. He is the only one of 6 haulers in town, to my knowledge, that is picking up organics. It's been a very popular program, and he's been picking up market share. So I don't know why the other haulers have not gotten into the action on that one, but anyone wanting an organics pickup has this available to them now. Next, step number 6, mandating collection of recyclables from multi-unit buildings. Edina has had organized mandatory citywide residential collection since 1989, and collection of recyclables from multi-unit buildings of 8 units or less is also mandatory and is offered at the same cost as single-family households. Question, Commissioner
Yes, Commissioner
Zerks.
Latham. I have a question if you have any information on the expanded plastics collection that is going to be starting
Yes,
this year.
I will comment on that. Hennepin County is requiring, as a condition of receiving SCORE money, and I believe Edina received about $128,000 last year from Hennepin County. In order to receive SCORE money starting in 2013, you must pick up number 1 through 5s. Right now, our contract only requires Allied to pick up number 1 and 2. When a new contract is put in place in 2013, that will include 1 through 5s. Hennepin County is not including 6 and 7s because there's almost no aftermarket for number 6 and a very, very small aftermarket apparently for number 7s. However, currently, the 3 haulers, at least that I'm aware of, are picking up number 1 through 7, and that would be Allied, Waste Management, and Randy's at a minimum are picking up number 1 through 7. So this will be a factor in the RFP for next year, which we will be talking about later this evening.
Chair Latham had a question. Maybe you covered this and I missed it. What about commercial recycling? Is that a part of our initiatives, or is that some other province that has to deal with that?
Thank you for raising that. That is something that Commissioner Zarin has been working on. We are limiting our efforts to those things that are part of the Green Step Cities program because we cannot do everything. But Commissioner Zarin has done an excellent job of working with the MPCA to get that approved. And that was just approved as part of the Green Step Cities program in mid-December. So this is something that we will be taking up next year. Right now, we do not have jurisdiction over commercial recycling. And next year, that would be an issue for us to take up with Council whether they wish to expand our recycling jurisdiction from purely residential, which it is now, to adding commercial, and I would recommend also adding municipal. That is also not part of our jurisdiction. So these are some projects for next year. Thank you for raising them, Commissioner Gubrud. I know if you had not, Commissioner Zarin, she would have done so next. Okay, next we will move on to best practice number 23, local air quality, Commissioner Risser.
The air quality working group started up last year in February, and we have been looking at different ways in which we can encourage changes in behavior so that our air quality actually does improve. And one of the most contentious issues that we addressed was that of wood burning, which our public commentator did bring up. And we have had success in terms of having the 2 fireplaces within the Centrum building converted over to natural gas. We have not reached any kind of consensus in terms of regulating outdoor wood burning, although I do have to say, and I think everybody is very much aware of the fact that there is truly a healthy, if you're thinking in terms of active dialogue now going on about wood burning. And here in Edina, we are a first-ring suburb. We do have houses next to each other, closely located. We all know when somebody is having a fire outside, and I do think this issue is one that is not going to go away. The larger question is, where do we go from here? There are many other topics that we can approach and issues that we can address. One that we are also looking at and moving forward on has to do with encouraging people to cut their engines and not idle them. And I'm very happy to say that I've been working with Commissioner Zarin on this as well, and she's been the principal liaison with the schools. And so if Commissioner Zarin, if you could comment a little bit on what's happening.
Well, it has brought up at the Go Green Committee at the school, and they are happy to, they passed it at the past 2 meetings we have had there. So they would like to start with having the sign at the city side of the schools. And so we need to go and designate those areas for starting with 2 schools. And so I'm going to meet with the manager at the school to finalize this and let you know.
Thank you. And I do want to emphasize the signs are not going to say you are prohibited from idling your engine. It will be, please turn off your engines. And so it'll be a gentle kind of messaging. The other thing that I would like to talk about is that we have other opportunities. I talked to City Planner Teague about the possibility of doing some kind of outreach programming to encourage people to go toward using electric lawnmowers instead of the 2-stroke lawnmowers that are very popular here during the summer. So that is another thing that we are looking at. And then we did go before the Planning Commission with our ordinance change to address the issue of drive-through windows. We did get a lot of comments on that were very helpful, and so we're going to pull back and retool a little bit, probably target the R1 district only and not come forward with a plan that would address other regions or other areas, other districts within Edina. So thank you, Chair Latham.
Thank you, Commissioner Risser. Next, best practice number 24, benchmarks and community involvement. Commissioner Zarin.
Thank you, Chair Latham. Well, one of the EEC does have a working group as outreach and education, and we would like to work with the community and engage community in and dialogue on environmental practices and information. With that, there is the upcoming meeting on April 19th that EEC is leading and sponsoring. And this event is going to be a community-wide event. We would like residents, business leaders, businesses, elected officials, nonprofit organizations, faith groups, students, and Edina schools be involved in this event. It is from 6 to 9. And we are going to have a keynote speaker, Dr. Jonathan Foley, Director of Environmental Institute at University of Minnesota, will be a keynote speaker. Then it's going to be follow-up with open dialogue. And this open dialogue is going to be between the community, audience, and leaders of the Edina. So we are also having a steering committee, planning committee for this event, and we would like to invite anyone that would like to help us to plan this event. Join us. We meet every first Tuesday of the month from 6 to 7 at the City Hall, Mayor's Conference Room. And also, we are going to have a dinner because it's it is before the timing of it to make it more convenient for the community. 6 to 6:45, we are going to have social hour event and resource fairs from businesses, organizations, and they are going to have a table to for information and hand out information to participants. Also, this is going to be on April 19, which is Earth Day is going to be the next day on April 20th. So we are hoping this is going to be annual event for EEC to have every year at this time. We will have event like this, and we will see, and this is sort of a benchmark for us to see how this one goes. And the dinner, all proceeds from dinner is going to go to Go Green team at school to spend the money for environmental practices and needs. So I invite the community and I invite all of the chairs to attend this meeting and help us to be volunteer, to help us to plan it and volunteer to run the event. We are looking for a chairperson for the dinner activity and other activities that are going on. We are even thinking to have a daycare. We have already talking to Project Earth at the school is supporting this. Mayor is supporting it. Dr. Dressen is supporting this. Connecting with Kids and Edina Ed Fund is supporting this so far. So we haven't sent the official letter out yet, but it was part of your package for this evening. I would like to get approval on that. So we are going to start, after this approval, start sending the letters out to ask for volunteers and help.
All right. Have the commissioners read the two documents in the packet? And do you have any questions?
Chair, I'm not sure whether this is relevant. Is there going to be a motion to approve?
Yes, there will.
Okay. Wait for discussion then on the motion.
Well, I'll take a little bit of discussion first.
Well, I have there's a little bit of a difference in the interests between myself, the co-chair of the the Education Outreach Working Group, and the steering committee. I want it to be known that I totally support the forum. I think it's a great idea. My concern is that the theme has an omission, which I believe should be included, and that is to include energy as a part of the theme, which currently is not. I believe that energy, as well as food and the environment, are both. It's a both and, not an either-or type of an issue. I recognize that food is certainly an important issue and needs attention. However, it is my understanding that energy is most critical because it is a cause, not an effect, of food production. It's the use of fossil fuels that contributes to global food problems, and I don't think vice versa. And in Edina, I believe, which is our target audience, my sense is that energy is certainly immediate, close to home, and directly actionable by every resident. And so while the subject of energy may well be covered in the speaker's remarks, this will not be known beforehand unless we change something about the title of the theme and the theme. The purpose of including energy as a significant factor in the publicity is to broaden the appeal of the forum. My perception is that the omission of energy in the theme headline and descriptive copy in the publicity would suboptimize the opportunity presented by the forum. I believe we would be missing an important opportunity to reinforce the mission of the Education Outreach Working Group, which is to support the charter of the Energy and Environment Commission, and most importantly, I believe that we have an opportunity, if we include energy, to reinforce the mission and awareness of the Energy and Environment Commission.
Thank you, Commissioner Gubrud. A question for Commissioner Zarin. The title that you have chosen is that which was stated by Dr. Foley, was it not? And given that he is our speaker, perhaps we would making an effort to give deference to him in the title. Now, I appreciate Commissioner Gubrud's concern for having a greater emphasis on energy. Is it not possible, if we do this forum every year, that in a subsequent year we could have a forum more primarily devoted to energy?
Well, the title doesn't exclude energy at all. This title came from Dr. Foley's group, and energy definitely is there in the environment. So as any other items, the economy and food is there to, because Dr. Foley has published a publication in the Star Tribune and has addressed food in there. So people are, residents are familiar with that. But yeah, this title came completely from Dr. Foley's group, and we can ask him to address. I'm sure I have seen his presentation, and he's going to address energy for sure. And even one of the leaders on the podium is going to talk about energy.
Commissioner Risser?
If the title is the title fixed, or can it be changed at this point?
It can be changed, but this is something I know. I don't feel right to go to Dr. Foley and ask him to change your title, but we can do that. It is,
One thing, Edina Dialogue is a series of talks, and so I don't know if Edina Dialogue has to be part of your title.
It is, because we have the agreement of
Community Foundation?
The Community Foundation to go with Edina Dialogue, and that is so they can do all kinds of publicity.
Okay, I didn't realize that had to be, because there are the Edina Dialogues, but I didn't know that had to be part of the titles for Edina Dialogues.
Commissioner Thompson?
The dialogue, too, is a very important concept that we want to engage the public. And so not only is it kind of trademarked by the Edina Community Foundation, and they've offered us their website also to be a place where we can have a web page, but we want to encourage people to come to ask questions and to get engaged with what it is that we're doing.
Commissioner Sirks?
Commissioner Zarin, can I just have a little more background on what the topic is? Because I'm not that familiar with how energy would play into what the broader discussion is, and then in terms of what Dr. Foley is planning to talk about, and also what local leaders and what topics would you plan to address there, and would they be different than what Dr. Foley is talking about?
After Dr. Foley is done with his talk and Q&A, then we are going to select 6 to 7 leaders to go on stage with Dr. Foley, and probably that includes a representative from EEC, mayor, and then a business leader, a student, community of faith, someone representative of community of faith. So these leaders, they talk about their experiences, what they have done, and what they would like to see Edina go in the future as far as the being more environmental sustainable.
How does food supply, I mean, what exactly is Dr. Foley's thesis or abstract?
Well,
in summary, what is he going to be advocating? I've
the
heard
food
of him, but I'm
supply,
not that familiar with what his
well, if you go to Dr.
talk
Foley's
is.
website, all of the informations are there. But the food supply is something that all of us consume, and that is something that globally is really under question at this point because of the population in China and India. Now they are getting into more development, and everyone wants to eat meat, and everyone wants to have better food, and so the resources are very scarce. So he's going to address that, and I don't know exactly. I'm not the speaker. he's the speaker, but from what I have seen from his presentation, he's going to address that as well.
Commissioner Thompson?
I would suggest that we have a person or a group from our commission to go talk to Dr. Foley, express our concerns or our interest in having him link the energy issue with food. That won't be a difficult thing to do. And so we can get a little more clarity on what the focus of his talk is.
Commissioner Iyer?
What I'd like to suggest is that instead of going back to Dr. Foley, maybe the commissioners who have a concern go and look at the relevant websites and information that Commissioner Zarin can provide. And if they continue to have a concern, bring it back to Commissioner Zarin and make the changes. So it seems to me that we, at least my personal comment is that food, although not directly related to the topic of the Energy and Environment Commission, so it's not one of our topics that we've been asked to address by the council. It does have tertiary or even secondary relevance to energy and environment, and that is what I'm guessing Dr. Foley is going to talk about. So in a sense, I would prefer that the commissioners who have a concern first figure out what their concern is by looking up the relevant information, and then if the concern continues to be there, then we should address it. Otherwise, we should leave it alone.
Okay, thank you.
I will entertain a motion to accept these materials as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Discussion?
Yeah, my comment is that I'm really looking forward to this event, and I think Commissioner Zarin, she's done a wonderful job of putting so many diverse people together, and I don't know exactly what to expect, but that's part of the excitement. So I'm looking forward to the event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I abstain.
A motion carried. Next, Green Business Development. Commissioner Zarin. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed a step. Step number 4, the Education and Outreach Group, additional activities of that group. Commissioner Gubrud.
Yeah, thank you very much. Did you want me to read for the watching audience the step itself? Would that be useful?
At your choice.
Okay, yeah. Well, the step number 4 is to conduct or support an energy efficiency or sustainability education and action campaign involving the entire community, homeowners, block clubs, neighborhood associations, congregations, schools, and youth. So that's quite a mouthful. I also wanted to acquaint people with the mission of the Education and Outreach Working Group, because we would like to involve as many community members as we possibly can in our activities. The mission of the Education and Outreach Working Group is to support the charter of the Edina Energy and Environment Commission by creating awareness, engaging residents, schools, churches, businesses, and community organizations to take action to conserve and increase energy efficiency, to reuse and recycle, and to preserve and enhance our environment. So in this spirit, I give the following report. We had an energy fair at Edinburgh Park. We had an energy workshop at the Edina High School. The commissioners and city council participated in natural step framework training. We have links on the EEC website on home saver switches, on refrigerator recycling, and also, of course, on the Home Energy Squad. We partnered with the Edina Community Foundation and 350.org on our Clean Energy Future, which featured 350.org founder Bill McGibbon and Will Steger Polar Explorer, which was held in the Fisk Auditorium at Edina High School. At the 4th of July parades, we've handed out flyers, 10 easy steps to energy and independence. We've given out Go Green stickers, which the kids have loved to come up and get. We've had an Energy Day or Earth Day proclamation by Mayor Hovland, which was approved by the council. We also had a notes article in the Sun Current on the Earth Day. We've had a door hanger campaign in Morningside, Countryside, South Garden Estates. At the Night to Unite, we handed out door hangers and stickers. There was an Edina Go Green presentation at Creek Valley Ed here this fall. There was a Sun Current article on landscaping at the new Edina Maintenance Building, which was written by our own John Howard. The title was Eco-Friendly Landscaping at the new Maintenance Building. We had an article on residential solar panels in the Edina Magazine. We have liaison, fortunately, with Project Earth at Edina High School. And then, as Commissioner Zarin pointed out, we're planning this April 19th community event.
Thank you, Commissioner Gubrud. Next, best practice number 25, green business development. Commissioner Zarin.
Well, thank you. So on green business development, we are working with Hennepin County to create certificate for businesses to become those businesses that are willing to adopt better practices in support of environmental sustainability. At this point, Hennepin County doesn't have those certificates, but I'm working with them to create that, and for sure we would like to have that for Edina. Also, recycling, as we talked about it briefly, business recycling is not mandated in Edina, and so we would like to have that. For that, with the help of local environmental group, EGG.
And what does that stand for, EGG?
Edina Go Green. We have conducted a survey last year, and it is interesting, in parallel to us, also City of Minneapolis, they conducted a survey on their own independently, and we came to the same result. 75 to 80% of businesses that we surveyed, they do recycle in Edina. And the same numbers for City of Minneapolis. So City of Minneapolis last year, they did pass to mandate business recycling. So with that, we would like also to approach some of the businesses that are not recycling to help them to come up with recycling volunteer, on their own. And because our studies shows that recycling, it does have a cost saving for businesses. And we have talked to one of the large businesses in Edina. By recycling papers, they don't pay for their garbage hauling. So that is a cost saving. So with that, we are hoping, as Chair Latham mentioned, next year we take this task to add the business recycling to add it to EEC jurisdiction, and with that, maybe hopefully we can go and mandate recycling for City of Edina for businesses.
Thank you, Commissioner Zarin. Step 4 under Best Practice 25, I will report on, and that is supporting a value-added business utilizing local waste products. As I mentioned previously, the City of Edina brush dump contents are picked up by St. Paul District Energy, and they are chipped up on site and hauled to St. Paul for energy purposes. And I would also like to add that residents are able to add to that brush dump the last 2 weekends in October. buckthorn is allowed to be brought to that dump during the last 2 weekends. Watch for a notice in the Sun Current, for example. In order to take brush there, a resident has to show their ID proving that they are a resident, and they can only bring the brush during a certain specified hours. But anyone who has a buckthorn who would like to take it there, be watching for the announcement in the Edina Sun Current for generally the last 2 weekends in October. All right, next, renewable energy. The Wind and Solar Ordinance Task Force, Commissioner Iyer will report on.
Thank you very much, Chair. The Small Wind and Solar Renewable Energy Ordinance. Oh, thank you. We've made some significant progress. The draft was created, and this was done by a task force that comprised of 2 Planning Commission members, Commissioner Potts and Commissioner Platter, and 2 Energy Environment Commission members, myself and Commissioner Sirks. So we had several meetings, and we got the draft done. We've had the city review it, and they've given us their initial comments. At this point, we have some specifically Planning Commission type of information that needs to be modified or edited, and I'm hoping that the Planning Commission can work with city staff to take care of that. I think the next steps going forward will be those Planning Commission city staff edits, then approval by the Planning Commission, and then the plan is to have the EEC and City Council in a joint session approve the final version. So that's the update on that. If the chair would oblige, can I make a very quick, very general comment?
Oh, yes, please do, Commissioner Iyer.
Thank you. So our city, its leadership, and our residents have a tradition of leadership. And in the EEC, we've had a very active 2011 and some major accomplishments by each and every one of our working groups. And we have not shied from difficult or controversial topics. And our approach has been typical of how we get things done in Edina. We select topics that are relevant, that have interest with the city council, interest with the residents, and we get the residents involved. We get all sorts of viewpoints. I think many of us have several examples from last year where we do extensive research and benchmarking, and then our focus is on cooperation and compromise. So I think we get things done, and not just the easy ones. And I'm hoping that 2012 will be a continuation of that in the EEC. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Iyer. Your point is very well taken. Our next step is the PACE project, and Commissioner Sirks will report on that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The PACE project is a good example of what Commissioner Iyer just mentioned, city leadership. And basically, PACE is a financing mechanism that a city can adopt to enable its commercial and residential members to fund energy efficiency and renewable energy projects. And basically, PACE stands for a term called Property Assessment Clean Energy. And without going into a lot of the details, it's basically enabling, the city enables residents and commercial property owners to fund energy efficiency projects by basically putting the cost of that on their property bill and paying it over a longer period of time than they might otherwise be able to do. The state of Minnesota passed legislation that authorized cities in Minnesota to do this program in 2010, And the city of Edina is the first city in Minnesota to actually enact a PACE program and set up a program that for its residents and commercial property owners, which it did in November. And basically, we also have our first project that has come in under this program, which will involve Grandview Auto and Tire on 70th Street. They have proposed putting in a solar PV or solar photovoltaic system on their roof, and it will be financed through the city cooperating with them and a commercial third-party financer to fund the solar program and be paid over a period of years under this first PACE program in Minnesota. So basically, the Grandview application and the Grandview project itself is moving forward at this time, and we understand it's targeted for approval by the City Council in one of their February City Council meetings. And the other thing that's worthwhile mentioning for this program is that the City of Edina's approach with PACE has generated a lot of interest with other municipalities in Minnesota and counties as well. So there's also support from the state. The State Department of Commerce gave the City of Edina a grant to help cover part of the cost of developing legal agreements that are necessary for the PACE program to work, with the intent that those agreements that Edina is preparing will also be able to be used by other municipalities or counties that are also going to hopefully follow our lead in this area. So it's an exciting new way to finance energy efficiency and renewable energy projects. In our case, it'll be solar, but it's also very well suited for energy efficiency as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Sirks. I have a question. Do we have anyone that has applied other than Grandview, or perhaps Mr. Struve is the one who can answer that question best?
Thank you, Chair Latham. At this time, there has not been another applicant. There has been some interest from different businesses throughout. One point of clarification is this program is strictly for commercial and industrial properties. It is not currently open to private homeowners.
Thank you for that
I
clarification.
have a comment.
Commissioner Gubrud.
I'd like to offer a resolution of commendation to Commissioners Sirks and Iyer for their pioneering work, their tenacity, creativity, ingenuity, and just sweat equity putting together these two projects. So congratulations, and I commend you for your efforts, and keep up the good work. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner Gubrud. Well taken. I think we all feel the same way about both the PACE project and the solar panel project. Which brings us next to the solar panel project. Step 5, Commissioner Sirks.
And following up on Commissioner Gubrud's very nice remarks, both of these projects have been team efforts that have involved public-private partnerships. Cities have major support by city staff and city council as well. So as I guess Commissioner Iyer said, this is truly a team approach in a really great way, a model and example of how we get things done in Edina. So the other example that happened this year also is that in the early part of 2011, the city applied for a grant that is actually federal grant funding that was being awarded through the Department of Commerce of the state, and we were successful and were awarded an $80,000 grant to put solar panels on City Hall. And basically, the financing of this was rather interesting because there are some significant rebates that the utilities also offer that in promoting solar systems, and with the grant and the rebates, the city is actually in a position to have an instant payback where we will be saving money as soon as the system becomes functional. And the latest update, and again, Mr. Struve, you can also comment on if there's any changes on this, but my understanding is the panels are up on the roof now, and there's a few steps that the utility has to take Xcel Energy to actually get this running and providing energy, but that's going to happen in the next few weeks. And the other, I think, significant thing is that this was part of a bigger package, too, that Mr. Struve mentioned earlier that our consultant McKinstry put together. So in terms of the energy efficiency and renewable energy activities that the city has already completed and are about to complete when the solar panels go online, there will be a decrease in the city's carbon footprint of 540 metric tons, which is at least a step in the right direction. So energy, again, is a very good example of a good way, cost-effective way to save money, because this project also, the solar panels alone are expected to save $1,300 a year off the city hall's utility bills. The projects collectively that Mr. Struve talked about that are saving energy efficiency as well as solar are expected to save the city $54,000 in utility bills annually, as well as the carbon reduction emissions. And also there are air quality emission savings, because when you use less energy or replace fossil fuel energy with clean energy such as solar, you're not burning coal and emitting those air pollutants that come from coal. So it's a very good example of a way to win in terms of saving money and also being good for the environment.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Commissioner Iyer. I would ask if our student representative would like to make a report.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to make a report on Project Earth, which is Edina High School's environmental organization. We're the oldest environmental organization in the state through high school, which is really cool. Last year, a lot of what we did was recycle at the high school. Every Friday we went around and would collect the recycling from each classroom. After much work from Project Earth, Edina Go Green, and the janitorial staff at Edina High School, it has been implemented into the system. So every week the janitorial staff is now the ones collecting the recycling, which has given us time to focus on other projects. Our big project for this year is hydration stations. Hydration stations are basically water fountains with an extra spout used for refilling water bottles. This promotes the use of reusable water bottles as opposed to plastic ones. The hydration stations also digitally count and tally the amount of water bottle saves, and they display it on the water fountain, which is cool. After much fundraising and grants, we have 4 hydration stations that will be installed throughout the high school in the upcoming weeks, so that's exciting. We've also had our buckthorn removal, which was mentioned earlier, so we expect to have those twice every year and continuing that on. Project Earth is continually working to raise environmental awareness. We have already made a positive difference throughout the high school, and we want to continue our plans as we try to establish and strengthen environmental clubs in both the middle schools and hopefully eventually in the elementary schools, as we can start to raise the kids the right way. If anyone is interested in donating to Project Earth and our cause, they can do so by donating to the Edina Education Fund and specifically designating the money for Project Earth. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate all the work that the Project Earth is doing. I think you've only got about, 30 members or so?
We are currently working on recruiting more members, as we only have about 20, and a lot of them are seniors, so we want to encourage the younger kids to get involved and really make a difference in their community.
Well, you're doing tremendous work for if you only have 20 people there. That is wonderful. Commissioner Sirks.
Thank you. And I'd just like to add, I think it is a really great example of a partnership that the school and our commission are able to work very closely together and have student members that bring so much to our commission. So I hope that partnership continues and strengthens. And I appreciate particularly Commissioner Thompson and Gubrud's efforts to really work with our school, Project Earth, and the Go Green team at the district level. I think that's very valuable and important work.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Sirks. Your point is very well taken. All right, the next item on the agenda, Council requests our advice for taking one of 2 actions. You have in your packet a staff report. The 2 actions are either number 1, pursuing a unilateral negotiation with the current recycling vendor Allied for services after December 31st, or number 2, pursuing a formal RFP for recycling services after December 31st. I would like to give you a little background. Edina's residential recycling hauler since 1989 has been Allied Waste Services. The current 3-year dual sort contract ends on December 31st. Currently, paper, glass, metal, cans, and number 1 and 2 plastic bottles are being collected. Hennepin County has mandated as a condition of receiving SCORE money that number 3 through 5 plastics also be picked up beginning January 1, 2013. As such, this is the minimum change that must be made to the contract. Hennepin County has not required that number 6 and 7 plastics be collected because of their limited aftermarket. The current Allied contract is a 3-year, $1.4 million contract. Allied is proposing a 5-year, which would be approximately $2 million contract, with a change from dual to single sort. For 2009, the RFP was only for dual sort. That the single sort was not at that time included in the bidding options. At the January 5th, 2012 Recycling and Solid Waste Working Group meeting, that group voted to recommend pursuing a formal RFP with a scenario for both dual sort and single sort, given that some residents have expressed an interest in the larger wheeled carts. Just to give you a little bit of background and history, Edina did a trash removal survey dated August of 2006, which found at that time that 56% of residents preferred dual sort and weekly pickup, 29% preferred every other week single sort pickup, and 15% were undecided. The survey also found that 83% were unwilling to pay more for single sort at that time, and 13% were willing to pay more for single sort. In March of 2007, Edina and Allied ran a pilot project for single sort in a designated neighborhood near Bredesen Park. 4 collections were made under the dual sort system in January of that year, with 111 participating households and 117 participating households in February through March with the single sort collection. Although there were more participants per week in the single sort trial, more pounds per household were collected in the dual sort trial. So, let's see here. Although there were more participants per week in the single sort trial, more pounds per household were collected in the dual sort trial, such that when you adjusted for residual materials, that means trash, in each load, the number of pounds collected per week was exactly the same under dual or single sort. This may because Edina already has a high participation rate of over 90% and a high set-out rate. One could criticize the pilot project for having only 111 to 117 households in one neighborhood. A statistically valid survey for a community the size of Edina is 400 households distributed throughout the city. Single sort and dual sort both offer environmental positives and negatives, such that both need to be carefully weighed. Given the size of the contract and the need to carefully consider the advantages of dual versus single sort, the Recycling and Solid Waste Working Group respectfully requests that EEC pursue a formal RFP for recycling services after December 31st, which would include scenarios for both dual sort and single sort. And now I will open the floor to questions, comments. Commissioner Zarin?
Yeah, I have a comment. I was at the meeting and I am part of RSW working group. I think it is fair to open an RFP to everyone. And we have some documents that shows dual source probably is more environmental sustainable, because one fact is broken glasses are found in single source, and it is hard to separate them. And we already educated our residents to do dual source, so we are going backwards. So anyhow, I think it is fair to have an RFP and open it to other commercial haulers, and to see what comes out of that.
Other comments or questions?
Could you help me? I'm not quite clear on single source versus double source. Would you?
Okay, the way it works, we currently have a one bin system of 18 gallons, and residents sort paper separately from the bottles, cans, and glass, and it typically put them in separate bags. Now, for myself, I requested a second bin, and so I have one bin for paper and one for bottles, plastics, and glass. Now, in a single sort system, as opposed to a 18-gallon bin, you would get a choice of, well, it depends on the system and depends on what we put in the RFP. You could have a resident could opt for a 30, a 60, or a 90-gallon bin. A larger family might want more, for example. And everything is put into that. And many residents are interested in having something on wheels, a cart on wheels. Now, you can have a cart on wheels without having single sort. I believe they do this in Roseville. They have 22 gallons, for example. Or you could have our current bins for the bottles and a 22-gallon cart for paper. There are many different ways of structuring this, and it is a fallacy that you can only collect number 3 through 7s in single sort. You can also collect 3 through 7s in dual sort. And so we need to, I think, carefully look at the pros and cons of both these systems, because it is a very serious choice. Once you make that change, you cannot really go back. Once you deprogram your residents, you cannot go back. And once you get into single sort, if you go the route of the expensive carts, 60 or 90 gallon, the cost to a vendor to acquire those for a city is $500,000. So the first vendor to get that 5-year contract will pay it off. Every vendor thereafter will be at a disadvantage because it becomes a bar to competition, in effect, because you've got yours paid off, and now the next person's rate is going to have to be higher in order to pay off those carts, unless they lose a contract, for example, in another city and have a lot of carts suddenly on inventory that they've already paid off in some other city. We're studying very carefully the data that we're receiving from Hennepin and Ramsey County, and we're most interested in the recycling rates over time in in single sort. What we are seeing is that there is a honeymoon effect, also called the Hawthorne effect for the MBA program people. And in the first year, you get a big spike of recovered materials. But then as we look at the data over time, by 3 years, that number is drifting down. By 5 years, it's not much farther than what the dual sort was before. So I'm presently acquiring more analysis of that data from Hennepin County. You would not want to switch to another system only to find out that it's not necessarily giving you many more recoverables. So we do have to get a lot more data on these systems to be sure that we are giving the residents the best system and for the best cost. As I mentioned in the 2006 survey, 83% were unwilling to pay more for single sort. So we really would have to have both dual and single sort in the RFP so that we could run them side by side and see what it would cost. We know that we would have at least 2 other bidders besides Allied. Last time Waste Management bid, as did Randy's, and they are sure to bid again. It is possible others might bid. I cannot say at all, but we would likely have at least 3 bidders. Commissioner Kostick.
I am in favor of putting it out to RFP for two reasons. One is this contract's been out for 3 years, and they want a 5-year extension. That seems pretty long without knowing what the market is. I would also just comment that if you're in the negotiations around a single sort with the bins and you're concerned about vendor lock-in, I think it's very easy to try to have a condition of the contract be that if they lose the contract, they have to sell out the bins. So I mean, I don't think that's easy to get around. You can just put that in. They're going to depreciate the bins out or expense them, and you can do that in a way that is economically harmless to them. And you can just do that by the numbers. So I would try very hard to avoid vendor lock-in. Thanks.
Excellent point. Are there other questions or comments? Commissioner Sirks.
I agree with Commissioner Kosick. I think it's a very good idea to go out and bid just to see kind of what the market rates are now.
Yeah,
Commissioner Paterlini.
Yeah, I'm in favor of the RFP regarding the single sort and dual sort. We have seen a decrease in the amount of paper because people, they read the less newspapers and there is less junk mail. So I was wondering if that is an issue that's going to go away by itself or not.
That's a very good question. What I have asked Hennepin County to do is to attempt to normalize for decrease in paper. Solvi Wilmot, our recycling coordinator, saw as soon as the Tribune went to an electronic format, our recycling numbers went way down. And that's good. We want people to be using electronic formats. All the clubs that I'm in, which is more than my husband would like me to be in, are going to electronic newsletters. And we are definitely seeing less paper in our home, and that's a good thing. We want to save those trees. All right, I will entertain a motion then for pursuing a formal RFP. Bill Sirks, Commissioner Sirks, and second, Commissioner Zarin. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Let the minutes reflect that the motion was unanimous. What is your pleasure? Council, the city manager has assured me that should we go the route of an RFP, we have to get working on that quickly. And in fact, the RSW working group began work on it. But he will take this to the next city council meeting, which is this coming Tuesday. To find out their pleasure on it. What I read to you at the beginning, would you like me to present something like that to council so that we have some rationale for what we're doing?
I would recommend that, yes, please.
Okay. Is there any manner in which you would like me to change what I read? It's fine. Okay. I will put that forward to the city manager to go along with the staff report so that council can understand how we arrived at this decision. All right, thank you. Next, we don't have any correspondence and petitions. Our next matter of business is the Bylaw Revision Committee, and I represented our commission on that a couple of weeks ago. The representative from each commission was there with Assistant City Manager Karen Kirk. And it was a 3.5-hour meeting. And I thought, oh, my gosh, how is Karen going to ever be able to synthesize all this in a consistent set of bylaws across all commissions? And I received her first draft, and I couldn't believe my eyes. It was wonderful. I didn't have any comments. Now, can any of you feature me without any comments on something? You know, no red lines. Imagine. No red lines. I sent it back. I thought she did just an outstanding job. Very shortly, she will be sending that to council for their comments, and then it will come back to all the commissions, and we will have a bylaw project next year, I have to admit, but I'm very excited about them. They are excellent, and I will look forward to being your person to help implement them. And we certainly appreciate all the work Karen Kurt did on them. It was just an outstanding job. All right, next, a staff report. Mr. Struve.
Thank you, Chair Latham. I just want to give you an update from what the EEC spent in 2011 from our finance department. The commission spent $8,345.72 of your allotted $10,000 budget, and then also moving forward in 2012, you do again have a budget for $10,000. One thing I do request is if you have any outstanding reimbursements from 2011, I need to get them immediately. Basically, we have to get those processed before the end of the month. So if you have any, please get them to me as soon as you can.
Do we have any commissioners that have expenses that have not been reimbursed? Oh, Commissioner Risser.
Yes, I will get that in.
You will very shortly. Okay, thank you. Now that we're mentioning expenses, Commissioner Risser, there was a water quality workshop at the Arboretum in 2012 that you were interested in attending in your new capacity as Water Quality Working Group Chair. Are you interested in following through with that?
You know what, I am embarrassed to say I need to go back and look at my calendar again. I cannot remember the date of that event. So I am very interested in attending. With the gallery opening at St. Thomas and a couple other things happening at the same time, I need to make sure that I'm not bumping into a conflict with any events. So I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Shall we proactively approve it in the event that you can go, and then you can always decline to go? I believe the cost on that was $125. Our policy is $100. Since that is so close, I would be willing to entertain a motion that if you can go, it is on a salt salt in water, how to reduce that, road salt. So those Arboretum programs have been very excellent. I would entertain a motion to approve the 125. Commissioner Iyer
So moved.
moves, and Commissioner Gubrud. All right, for the 125. Excellent. All in favor? Opposed? A motion carried. Is there any other new business to come before the commission? If not, I will adjourn the meeting.